Have you ever had that fleeting instant, almost too brief to catch, when something inside you whispered, "Don't go there," or "Say yes to this"? It arrives before thought, before logic has sharpened its tools. Perhaps it came as a sudden tightness in your chest when you met someone, an unspoken warning not to trust. Or maybe it was a quiet pull nudging you down an unfamiliar road, a choice that only later revealed its importance. Most dismiss these nudges as irrational impulses, coincidences, or quirks of emotion. After all, our culture has trained us to trust only what can be measured, analyzed, or explained. But history tells another story. Ancient sailors often set their course not only by stars, but also by feelings they could not name, a tug in the gut that said wait before a storm. Roman generals paid heed to omens, yes, but also to the inexplicable instincts of their scouts who sensed ambush before the first arrow flew. Indigenous elders spoke of a small voice that guided hunters, mothers, and healers, a voice that was neither fantasy nor madness, but survival itself. What if these whispers are not random at all? What if they are the subtle language of the universe, an interface between your body and the quantum field, the very fabric of reality? For centuries, people trusted such signals without knowing why. Only now does science begin to suggest that intuition might be the earliest perception of futures already taking shape. We've been conditioned to believe life moves in straight lines. Cause leads to effect, decision leads to outcome. Plans are drawn, options weighed, pros and cons balanced, and then a choice is made. This mechanical model has served us well in building civilizations, empires, and machines. But beneath the visible machinery of logic lies something older and stranger. A reality that does not march in sequence, but shimmers in probabilities. Quantum physics, the most precise science of the modern age, reveals a startling truth. Consciousness is not bound by the ticking of the clock. Experiments hint that information can arrive before the event itself, as if awareness leaps outside time to glimpse what the mind has not yet processed. Researchers call this presentiment, the body's ability to feel the future before it arrives. Think of it like tuning an old radio. At first there is static, then fragments of music flicker through, unclear but promising. Finally, with the smallest twist of the dial, the melody breaks free in clarity. Intuition is that static, the faint preview of a signal waiting to crystallize into reality. Yet most people are trained to doubt the static. They brush it aside, demand proof, silence it with overthinking. But the quantum field does not speak in proof. It speaks in resonance. It never argues or insists. It whispers, it nudges, it invites. That is why intuition feels so soft, so easy to dismiss, and why it is so often right. Think back to your own life, the most important choices, the ones that shaped your path in ways you could not undo. Were they born of spreadsheets and careful logic? Or did they begin as a flicker, a gut reaction, an inner knowing, a flash of awareness you only later justified with reason? The irony is bitter. Most people trust intuition only in hindsight. They look back and say, "I knew it. I should have listened." By then, the signal has already proven itself through events. What would your life look like if you trusted the whisper the first time, without waiting for external confirmation? Quantum manifestation does not begin when you finally decide. It begins earlier, in that liminal moment when the field shows you the path before action is taken. It is like standing at the threshold of two timelines, catching the shimmer of the one calling your name. If you ignore it, you slip back into the old. If you trust it, you step into the new. This is the hidden mechanism behind synchronicity and intuition. They are not accidents. They are the signposts of reality in motion, the quantum field revealing the next unfolding. And yet paradox remains. The mind demands guarantees, while the universe speaks in subtle invitations. The language of the mind is complexity. The language of the field is simplicity. One signal, one nudge, one whisper. Follow it, and you align. Ignore it, and you step out of sync. That is why so many struggle with creating the lives they long for. They drown themselves in rituals, affirmations, and endless plans, forgetting that the first doorway always arrives as a whisper. The whisper is the alignment. The whisper is the beginning. And if you learn to hear it, not after the fact, not in regret, but in the moment it arrives, then your life shifts in ways logic could never predict, because by the time your reasoning mind catches up, your energy has already stepped into a new future. The field has already heard you. So the question is not whether the quantum field speaks. It always does. The question is, are you listening? For centuries, intuition was dismissed as superstition, something vague, unreliable, even dangerous to trust. The rational world demanded evidence, data, logic. And yet, as the modern age unfolded, scientists began to stumble upon something unsettling. The body itself seemed to anticipate the future. Not metaphorically, but measurably. Let us begin with the work of Dean Radin, chief scientist at the Institute of Noetic Sciences. In a series of carefully controlled experiments, participants were shown images on a computer screen, some peaceful, others disturbing. The sequence was randomized, impossible to predict. But here's the astonishing detail. Seconds before the disturbing image even appeared, their bodies reacted. Skin conductance spiked, sweat glands activated, heart rates jumped, brain waves shifted. In other words, the nervous system registered the future before the mind could see it. Statistical analysis showed the results were far beyond chance. Something was happening that our linear models of time could not explain. Radin called this phenomenon presentiment, the body's ability to feel the future before it arrives. His conclusion was provocative. Consciousness is not limited to the present. It reaches into the future. And Radin was not alone. At the HeartMath Institute in California, researchers conducted similar experiments, but this time they looked at the heart, not the brain. In one famous study, participants again anticipated future images. The shock came when researchers discovered that the heart reacted before the brain did. The heartbeat changed several seconds before the stimulus appeared, then sent signals upward to the brain. The heart, not the head, was the first to sense the future. This discovery overturned centuries of assumptions. For millennia, philosophers and poets had insisted that the heart was more than a pump, that it held wisdom beyond reason. The Egyptians preserved the heart in their sacred rituals, discarding the brain as unimportant. Medieval mystics spoke of the intelligence of the heart. And now, with electrodes and monitors, modern science was confirming what ancient traditions had never doubted. The heart is an antenna, attuned to a reality beyond linear thought. Think about what this means. You are not simply thinking with your head. You are thinking with your entire field. Every fiber of your being, gut, chest, nervous system, is listening to signals from the quantum world. These signals arrive as feelings, flickers, subtle shifts. To dismiss them as coincidence is to ignore the earliest language of reality itself. There are countless stories that echo this truth. Soldiers who duck seconds before a sniper's bullet finds its mark. Mothers who awaken in the night at the exact moment their child cries out miles away. Explorers who change course without knowing why, only to find disaster narrowly avoided. History is scattered with accounts of presentiment, yet until recently, science had no framework to hold them. But with the rise of quantum mechanics, a new picture emerges. Reality, at its smallest scales, does not behave like clockwork. Particles exist in clouds of possibility until observation collapses them into a single event. Time itself seems less rigid, more fluid. Consciousness, as experiment after experiment suggests, is woven into this mysterious fabric. And if consciousness is not bound by linear time, then perhaps those quiet inner nudges are not guesses at all. They are perceptions, glimpses across the veil of the not yet. What if the sudden unease you feel before entering a room is your body registering an energetic field, already unfolding there? What if the inexplicable urge to call a friend is not randomness, but a tug on the invisible threads that bind entangled lives? What if the future is not waiting to arrive, but already echoing in the present, if only you are still enough to hear it? Dean Radin's experiments, HeartMath's studies, and countless anecdotal accounts all point to the same unsettling but liberating truth. The human body is a sensor. It is not just reacting to reality, it is previewing it. And this brings us to the threshold of something revolutionary. If your heart, your gut, your nervous system are already whispering the shape of what is to come, then intuition is not imagination. It is perception, your first and most faithful compass in the quantum field. Imagine for a moment that your body is not just flesh and bone, but a transmitter and receiver, a living antenna. Every beat of your heart sends out signals into the invisible world around you, and those signals ripple through the quantum field like waves across a vast ocean. Modern science, at the HeartMath Institute, researchers discovered that the heart generates an electromagnetic field 60 times stronger than the brain's. This field extends several feet beyond your body, measurable with sensitive instruments. And here is the startling part. The quality of that field changes with your emotions. Fear and stress create chaotic, jagged patterns. Love, gratitude, and coherence generate smooth, harmonious waves. In other words, your inner state is being broadcast outward, moment by moment, into the invisible fabric of reality. It is here that the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza adds a crucial piece. In his book, Becoming Supernatural, he describes how aligning the brain and heart into coherence produces a measurable electromagnetic signature, a kind of personal frequency. When thoughts, emotions, and physiology move in harmony, the body doesn't just feel calm. It becomes tuned like a finely strung instrument to a frequency that can reorganize matter itself. In workshops where this coherence is cultivated, people have reported extraordinary healings, synchronicities, and shifts that defy conventional explanation. And yet, long before electrodes and graphs, the ancients already knew. The Egyptians believed the heart housed the soul's essence, preserving it carefully for the afterlife, while discarding the brain as unimportant. In Chinese philosophy, the heart was the emperor of the body, guiding wisdom rather than simply pumping blood. Medieval poets spoke of listening with the heart, as if it were a literal organ of perception. Across continents and centuries, from Sufi mystics to indigenous shamans, cultures insisted that the heart was the true center of knowing. Why would so many civilizations converge on the same symbol if there were no truth behind it? Perhaps they sensed what science now measures, that the heart, with its vast electromagnetic reach, is an organ of connection. It links us not only to our own bodies, but also to the rhythms of the larger world, the field of possibilities shimmering all around us. Think of a tuning fork struck in a quiet room. Another fork across the space, if tuned to the same frequency, begins to vibrate in resonance. The two are linked, not by touch, but by invisible waves. Your heart is much the same. When you cultivate coherence, you become a tuning fork for the quantum field. your signal resonates outward, and reality begins to organize itself in response. This is why intuition so often rises from the chest, a flutter, a tightening, a warmth. It is the heart reading resonance before the mind has words. And this is why decisions made from the heart often prove wiser than those calculated purely by logic. The heart perceives alignment first. The brain lumbers behind, rationalizing what the heart already knew. Consider this. Every spiritual tradition that emphasizes transformation places the heart at the center. Yogic teachings speak of the anahata, the heart chakra, as the bridge between the physical and spiritual. Christian mystics describe the Sacred Heart as the doorway to divine union. Indigenous elders spoke of walking the path of the heart as the highest wisdom. Across time, the message is constant. When the heart is attuned, the world aligns. But here lies the challenge. In a culture that worships logic, we have been taught to mistrust the whispers of the heart. We silence it with analysis, demand proof before action, and in doing so, we fall out of resonance with the deeper intelligence of the universe. The heart speaks softly, not in arguments, but in nudges. To ignore it is to live out of tune. To honor it is to step into harmony with reality itself. Science now tells us what mystics always believed. The heart is not just metaphor, but mechanism. It is your antenna, a transmitter of coherence, a receiver of the field signals, and the bridge between your inner world and the infinite quantum sea. If the heart is the antenna, then the nervous system is the circuitry that tunes it, the living network through which the signals of the quantum field are received, amplified, and broadcast. Every heartbeat, every breath, every subtle change in emotion travels through this vast system of nerves and synapses. It is the bridge between your inner world and the outer one, the interface where thought, body, and field meet. Modern neuroscience paints a striking picture. The nervous system does more than react to reality. It shapes it. When you are calm and open, the parasympathetic branch of your nervous system signals safety. Your breath deepens, your heart rate stabilizes, your hormones balance. In this state, the body becomes coherent, radiating smooth electromagnetic waves that align with the quantum field. But when stress dominates, the sympathetic branch takes control. Your pulse quickens, breath shortens, muscles. This is not abstract theory. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research repeatedly shows that incoherence fragments manifestation. You may think one thing, feel another, and act from a place of fear. That contradiction creates noise in the field, scattering your signal like static on a broken radio. And the universe, ever faithful, reflects the static back. Your reality becomes disordered, chaotic, full of mismatched results. Now consider the reverse. When your nervous system shifts from chaos to coherence, something extraordinary happens. The HeartMath Institute discovered that the heart's electromagnetic field is 60 times stronger than the brain's and extends several feet outside the body. In coherence, this field stabilizes not only your own biology, but also influences those around you. You are no longer just perceiving reality, you are broadcasting it. This is where the metaphor of quantum entanglement comes alive. Physics tells us that when two particles become entangled, the state of one instantly influences the other, no matter the distance. Imagine your nervous system as one half of that pair, and the quantum field as the other. The moment you regulate your inner state, the field responds in kind. Miracles often follow meditation not because magic has intervened, but because the antenna has finally tuned itself to clarity. Ancient traditions intuited this long before neuroscience caught up. Yogis developed pranayama, the art of breath control, not for exercise, but for mastery of energy. Shamans entered trance states, chanting and drumming to regulate their nervous systems into coherence. Monks practiced stillness and ritual to calm the body so the spirit could soar. They all understood one principle: a chaotic body cannot house a coherent spirit. Science now provides the data to match their wisdom. Vagus nerve stimulation, heart rate variability, gamma brainwaves, all point to the same truth. A balanced nervous system is the gatekeeper to higher states of awareness. When dysregulated, you broadcast confusion. When regulated, you become a clear signal, a living transmitter of alignment. And yet, here lies the paradox. Most people live so constantly in dysregulation that they believe it is normal. Rushing, multitasking, shallow breathing, sleepless nights. They wear stress like a badge of honor. But what they do not realize is that this constant state of survival mode keeps them locked out of the very coherence they seek. They are spinning the dial of the radio endlessly, never holding still long enough to catch the song. But here is the hope. The nervous system is designed to reset. With each conscious breath, each moment of stillness, each act of intentional calm, you are telling your body it is safe. Place a hand on your heart, breathe deeply, and within minutes, the antenna retunes itself. The field responds immediately. Suddenly, intuition becomes louder. You stop mistaking fear for guidance and begin to discern the subtle pulls of the quantum. This is not philosophy. Studies show that even a few minutes of heart-focused breathing increase coherence, sharpen intuition, and improve decision-making. Dr. Dispenza's meditations are filled with techniques to bring the nervous system back into alignment so the mind can project a clear, unbroken signal. So the next time your breath is shallow, your pulse quickened, your thoughts spiraling, remember, this is not just stress, it is static in the antenna, and you hold the power to reset it. One slow inhale, one exhale, and your signal begins to clear. The field listens not to your frantic words, but to your steady state. In coherence, manifestation no longer feels like struggle. It feels like flow. And as you learn to regulate the antenna of your nervous system, you step into a world where alignment is not rare, but natural. There comes a moment, once your nervous system has been tuned and your heart broadcasts in coherence, when life itself begins to whisper back. Suddenly, reality seems to lean toward you, arranging events in ways too precise to be dismissed as chance. You think of an old friend, and moments later their name lights up your phone. You stumble upon a book that answers the question you carried silently for weeks. You set an intention, and within days, the opportunity arrives, wrapped in the most unexpected form. These are synchronicities, the signposts of resonance, the language of alignment. Carl Jung was the first to popularize the term, calling it meaningful coincidence. But even Jung could only gesture at what lay beneath. Today, quantum physics offers us a deeper metaphor. Just as particles respond to observation, your reality responds to coherence. When your inner field becomes ordered, it resonates with the order of the universe. And that is how most people live. Close enough to catch fragments of their desired reality, but clouded by noise and contradiction. Yet when the dial is perfectly tuned, the music floods through clear, undeniable whole. Synchronicity is that clarity. Each coincidence is not random, but an echo. The universe confirming, yes, you are tuned in. History is scattered with moments of synchronicity shaping the course of events. The discovery of penicillin began when Alexander Fleming returned from holiday to find his experiment accidentally contaminated, yet perfectly aligned to reveal the world's first antibiotic. The poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge once dreamt of lines of verse so vivid that upon waking he wrote them down feverishly, birthing Kubla Khan. And countless inventors, explorers, and artists have spoken of chance encounters, timely signs, or inexplicable alignments that shifted their destiny. What if these were not accidents, but the quantum field's feedback to their coherence? Dr. Joe Dispenza often says that synchronicities are signs you are becoming supernatural, not because you are defying nature, but because you are finally flowing with its deepest laws. In his workshops, participants describe waves of synchronicities once they align their nervous systems and focus their vision. They see repeating numbers, cross paths with mentors, stumble into opportunities that feel orchestrated by unseen hands. The field is not mocking them with coincidence, it is conversing. Yet here lies the hidden invitation. The first synchronicities often arrive as gentle reassurance, but the rational mind, trained in doubt, is quick to protest. Perhaps it's random. Perhaps I'm imagining things. That doubt pulls the signal back into static. The field reflects not only your clarity, but also your hesitation. And so the dance of alignment falters. The key is to treat synchronicities as dialogue, not decoration. Imagine you are learning a new language. At first you recognize only a few words, but the more you listen, the more fluent you become. Each synchronicity is a word, a phrase, a sentence in the dialogue between you and the quantum. Ignore it, and the conversation fades. Honor it, and the dialogue deepens. A simple practice can transform your awareness. Keep a synchronicity journal. For 1 week, write down every event that feels like more than coincidence. The song that plays at the exact moment you were thinking of someone. The stranger who delivers the message you secretly needed to hear. The repeating symbols that appear when you feel most aligned. At week's end, look back. You will see the patterns are not random. They cluster around moments of openness, trust, and coherence. The field responds to your state, echoing it back in forms that shimmer with meaning. This is supported by physics itself. In nonlinear dynamics, small changes ripple into large effects, the butterfly effect. Your shift into coherence may seem subtle, but it organizes the field around you in vast and unpredictable ways. Synchronicity is simply how those ripples return to your awareness. Each alignment is not just a wink from the universe. It is evidence that you are shaping reality in real time. And the greatest secret of synchronicities is this: the events themselves are never the miracle. Seeing 11:11 on a clock is not the magic. Meeting a stranger by chance is not the miracle. The miracle lies in the reflection, the reminder that your vibration is interacting with the fabric of existence. Each synchronicity is proof that you are not separate from reality, but woven into its deepest currents. So the next time synchronicities flood your life, pause. Do not dismiss them as luck or chase them as signs. Instead, breathe and whisper to yourself, I am tuned in, because the more you acknowledge the signal, the stronger it becomes. And when it becomes strong enough, your entire life begins to organize itself around that resonance. But what happens when the synchronicities stop? 1 week, you are flooded with signs. Numbers align, doors open, the universe seems to hum your name. Then, suddenly, silence. No repeating numbers, no chance encounters, no uncanny alignments. Life feels flat again, as though the magic has slipped through your fingers. Most people panic at this moment. They wonder, did I lose my connection? Am I doing something wrong? Has the universe abandoned me? The silence feels like exile, but in truth, Quantum physics offers a metaphor. A particle can exist in superposition, many possibilities at once, until observation collapses it into a definite state. Synchronicities are like flickers of possibility, showing you glimpses of alignment as you approach a new frequency. But once that frequency stabilizes, the flicker fades. The signs quiet, not because the connection is gone, but because the new reality has already been chosen. The silence means the field has heard you. This is the test. Can you trust the process without constant reassurance? Can you hold the vibration steady when the feedback loop goes quiet? Many cannot. Doubt creeps in, fear takes hold, and the nervous system slips back into incoherence. And with that shift, the magic seems to vanish, but it has not. The field is simply waiting for you to stop grasping at proof and to embody trust. Think of learning to ride a bicycle. At first, training wheels keep you balanced. Synchronicities are those wheels, guiding you, showing you you're on the right path, but eventually the wheels must come off. The silence is that moment of wobble when the universe steps back to see if you can balance on your own. The wobble feels frightening, but it is necessary, for only then do you discover your true stability. Ancient traditions understood this rhythm of presence and absence. Mystics spoke of the dark night of the soul, when divine signs seemed to vanish, leaving only silence. But they taught that the silence was not abandonment, it was gestation. A seed does not sprout the day it is planted. It lies unseen in the soil, hidden in darkness, until the right moment to break through. The absence of signs is not the end. It is the preparation for emergence. There is also a psychological dimension. Neuroscience shows that the human brain is wired to seek novelty. At first, synchronicities feel astonishing because they defy expectation. But as the brain adapts, they no longer trigger the same awe. You may stop noticing them altogether. They are still happening, but you have integrated them, absorbed them as part of your new normal. The silence is often perception, not reality. So when synchronicities quiet down, shift your interpretation. Instead of saying, the magic is gone, tell yourself, the shift is stabilizing. Let silence be your proof. It is the universe asking, will you create only when I flood you with signs? Or will you create because you have become the vibration itself? This is where mastery begins. Anyone can trust when the universe is shouting affirmations through coincidences, but the true creator is the one who trusts when the universe whispers nothing at all. In that silence, sovereignty is born. And here is the paradox. The moment you relax into silence, synchronicities return, but now they arrive at a higher octave, not as fragile reassurances, but as orchestrated events that reshape your destiny. Instead of small winks, you encounter life-changing alignments, a meeting that alters your path, an opportunity that once seemed impossible, a sudden unfolding that feels like destiny itself. The silence was never empty. It was the breath before the symphony swells. Here we arrive, at the heart of the journey. You've learned to hear the whispers of intuition, to trust the heart as an antenna, to regulate the nervous system into coherence, to recognize synchronicities as feedback, and to withstand the silence without losing faith. But the destination is not simply collecting signs. The destination is becoming the sign yourself. Think of what happens when coherence is no longer a fleeting state, but your natural way of being. Thoughts, emotions, and body move in harmony. In physics, this is resonance, when a system vibrates with such stability that it draws other systems into its rhythm. In neuroscience, Dr. Joe Dispenza calls this heart-brain coherence, where the nervous system leaves survival and enters creation. In spirituality, Mystics like Neville Goddard called it living from the end, embodying the reality before it arrives. All point to the same truth. When you are coherent, you no longer chase synchronicity. You radiate it. Imagine walking into a room in this state. Without speaking a word, people feel something shift. They cannot explain it, but they are drawn toward you, softened by your presence, influenced by your calm field. This is not imagination. The HeartMath Institute has shown that a coherent heart radiates measurable electromagnetic waves several feet beyond the body, affecting others. You are literally shaping the environment through the frequency you broadcast. This is the great reversal. You no longer ask, "Is the universe hearing me?" You know it is, because you are the broadcast itself. Synchronicities still arrive, but they feel different. They are not small reassurances, but natural expressions of alignment. They no longer surprise you because they seem inevitable, the only possible outcome when your state and the field move as one. This is the realm where miracles stop being exceptions and start becoming your baseline. Every great mystic, every teacher of inner transformation pointed to this shift. Indigenous shamans spoke of becoming a living prayer. Sufi poets wrote of hearts so attuned that they shaped the world around them. Even Einstein, a man of science, called intuition a sacred gift and the rational mind its servant. They all understood the power is not in waiting for signs, but in becoming the frequency that makes signs unnecessary. So pause now and reflect. All along, synchronicity was never the goal. It was the mirror, the signs, the numbers, the uncanny encounters. They were training wheels, reminders of the dialogue between you and the field. The silence was the test, the breath that asked whether you could hold the vibration without external proof. And coherence, steady, radiant coherence, is the graduation. Close your eyes for a moment, take a slow breath, feel the beat of your heart. Whisper silently, "I am not waiting for signs. I am the signal." Say it not just with your mind, but with your chest, your breath, your entire field. That simple act shifts your frequency. And when your frequency shifts, reality has no choice but to move with it. This is the secret hidden in plain sight. You are not a seeker in a universe of signs. You are a creator in a universe of mirrors. The signs were never outside you. They were your own signal reflected back. When you live from this truth, life ceases to feel random. Every breath, every encounter, every moment becomes a living synchronicity. Not because you are chasing proof, but because you are finally broadcasting who you truly are. You're not waiting for reality. You're reality. You're not waiting for synchronicity. Synchronicity has been waiting for you.